Welcome back to the Cat Knit Podcast. My name is Grace and today is Friday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you, of course, because how can we not mention that? It just kind of rolls off the tongue. This is a podcast about knitting and crafting and reading and baking and cats and lots of things that I feel like sharing with you guys. So thank you for checking this podcast out if you are a new viewer, and thank you for coming back and spending some time with me if you are returning. I really appreciate it. All the things that I will be talking about will be linked in the show notes that will be down below if you are either on my blog, or it'll be linked down below if you are on YouTube. In addition to that, there are also all my various social medias that you can follow me on. There's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Ravelry. I am most active on Instagram, so if you'd like to go follow me on there, that would be wonderful. Today is also, this podcast is brought to you by allergies and stuffy noses and things like that, and watery and itchy eyes, so apologies if my voice sounds a little weird or if I sound congested, because these allergies, man, it's rough. So we're gonna power through, but yes, I'm not ill, I just have bad allergies. So this week in the knitting content, there is some happy knitting and there's some sad knitting, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. So on a more happy note, if you would like to go get something tasty to drink, today I have coffee in my Hurdy mug, which I did not plan this, but this is very fitting in regards to my sad tale of knitting woe that I'm going to tell you today. And yes, so if you'd like to go get something tasty to drink or snack on, or something to craft, or do whatever while we spend some time together and I tell you about my crafting adventures this week, you can come back and join me for some crafty chat. I don't know where to begin. So we have 3 items to talk about. 2 of which I have worked on, 1 of which I will be working on tomorrow, and I will explain why. It's really not that exciting, it's just, I have plans to work on this, so I'm going to work on it tomorrow. So, cool. Let's get the sad thing out of the way. This has nothing to do with the podcast or anything, I'm not stopping, and nothing terribly bad has happened, but this was a very sad moment yesterday. I had a hard time. It was a hard moment. So last week, this tells you nothing about, unless you remember what bag it was in. So last week I showed you guys a new sweater that I had cast on. The sweater that I'm doing with my mom for her birthday. It's a birthday knit along. We got the yarn together. We'll be making the same sweater. She's making a navy one. I'm making a purple one. It's got baubles or popcorns, and there's mohair involved, and it's a super cute sweater, and I really am super excited about it. And I was having trouble with the pattern last week, and I figured it out, and I really just like powered through and I made it work, and which I am going to talk about in just a minute as well. And then yesterday I got to the point where I could divide for the sleeves, so it really didn't take me that long. I knit that in less than a week. So that was pretty incredible. I was very proud of myself, and I was like, yes, I'm dividing for the sleeves. This is amazing. I love this. It looks so great. I wonder if it fits. You can probably tell where this is going now. So I put it on. I'm really glad I did this, because like if I had just kept on knitting and knit the entire sweater and then tried it on, that would have been very sad. So I put it on scrap yarn or whatever. Oh, sad moment. It was a very sad moment. I know this looks like it would be fine. Like, it fits totally fine. Like, it's not that it's too small, it's not that it doesn't fit, it's that it does not look like the picture, and it does not look, the fit is not what it's supposed to be. So in regards to the picture and what it's supposed to be, it is definitely too small. So it was very sad. And so I was texting my mom pictures of this while this was happening, and I was like, this is very sad. I'm very unhappy about this. But like, isn't that beautiful? That is just gorgeous. Side note. And so we then were able to talk it through, and we were able to come up with a new plan that unfortunately does require frogging the entire thing, which will be a struggle because of the mohair, but whatever, you know what, this is a sweater that we want to get right, or I want to get right, and like, I want to do it the right way. But I think it'll even go, I think it will go even faster the next time because I understand the pattern, I know where the little popcorns go, I get the pattern. It's kind of like knitting the second sleeve. How the second sleeve always goes faster, the first sleeve goes super slow, but you don't normally have to knit a sweater twice. But we're positive thinking, we're having positive thoughts here, we're doing some positive thinking because this is just very sad. So yes, we talked about like what we were gonna do. I am going to rip back the whole thing. I'm gonna go up several needle sizes. I might even knit the bigger size, I don't know. So yes, I want it to fit the way it's supposed to. It's a bomber jacket, it's supposed to be super oversized. The arms are like massively puffy. And this is not it. This was more of like a fitted sweater when I tried it on. If that gives you any idea of what it looked like. So, this is sad, but if we would like to see how much I did get done knitting wise this past week, I was at this marker when I talked to you guys last. That's great. So I did all the sleeve increases, I did all the little popcorns, which I know they're kind of hard to see, but the little popcorns, I figured out the placement. And I really don't think it's the problem with the pattern. I think it's just, I would hope it's not a problem with the pattern. I was thinking about this. So, last week, let's talk about learning processes, shall we? So last week, I was talking about how I was really, really struggling with that pattern. Which, by the way, I have not mentioned. That pattern is called Mom's Popcorn Bomber by a Nordic knitting tale. It is not on Ravelry, which is very unfortunate, but it is on her website, which I will link in the show notes. She also has a very awesome Instagram that is very inspiring as well. So, that's cool. But, yes, what was I talking about? Oh yes, struggling with the pattern. The pattern is very challenging to read for me. Like, I mean, not to read necessarily, but just to understand what I'm supposed to do and figure out the instructions and all that kind of stuff in order to make a sweater. And so, at that point, I was just reading it on my iPad, which is what I normally do. I always keep my patterns on my iPad, or I read them on my computer depending on what I have handy, or if I'm on my phone, I do it on my phone too if I'm out and about and don't have either my iPad or my computer. I'm very much like PDF on a screen type person, because I don't usually mark up my patterns. I mean, I do if I have them, but I have gotten into the habit of just keeping it on my iPad or whatever, just because that works better for me, but to each their own. So I kept trying to figure out what this pattern was trying to like tell me and what it was supposed to mean, and so I finally decided to print out the paper copy and then write down what I thought it was trying to say. Which brings me to my point. I am not a, like, reading visual learner. If I have a picture, I can do that. Or if I have, like a video. That's great. In that regards, I can learn visually. I have the hardest time just learning by text. But that's just how I learn. So I knew that if I printed it out and I wrote down what I thought what I was supposed to do, or what the pattern was trying to say, that would really help me understand, because I learn best audio and writing it out, whatever that's called. and tactilely. I don't know. I don't completely understand the subject, but you understand, hopefully you understand that, like, this was how I was learning. And so my pattern, I won't show it to you because it is a paid for pattern, but my pattern is covered in notes, and it's covered in like scribbling things that's on the back of the paper. I rewrote out the instructions for a lot of the things, like the popcorns, because I didn't understand it just written out, but like I kind of translated it in my mind of what it was supposed to say and what I was supposed to do, which I know is like super overboard and just kind of like, why can't you just understand the pattern? And I would probably think the same thing, because it's like, well, this is so much more extra work. Why do I need to do this? But this is just how I learn best, and it worked really well with this pattern. When I say it works really well with this pattern, it enabled me to get past things like the raglan increases. It enabled me to figure out how to make the popcorns, how to do the row after the popcorns, all that kind of stuff. And I also really feel good about myself, because I was like, yes, I figured it out. This was complicated for me, but I did it anyway. So my tip is for you, if you are really struggling to figure out a pattern, which may not be the pattern's fault, it might be the pattern's fault, I don't know, but if you are really struggling to like really understand it and grasp it with your knitting mind, because we all have knitting minds, to really understand it well, you might learn differently, and so maybe you should try like writing it out, or try looking up videos on YouTube on how to like do popcorns or whatever. So that kind of stuff is super helpful, and it really just kind of is like, it's not as complicated as it is, or as it seemed. In just reading it, I was trying to make it much more complicated than I thought it was, or than what it really was. I thought it was super complicated. It really wasn't. But then I found that out once I wrote everything down, so it was all okay. And now I have to frog it. But I do know what to do now, and that's all that really matters. I know what to do now, not know. Now. So yes, those are my thoughts on this sweater. I will say though, this sweater pattern is definitely not for beginners. It is probably not for even intermediate knitters. This is probably for very, very seasoned, you understand sweater construction type knitter, which I don't think I would call myself that, because I don't understand every single type of sweater construction. I understand raglan, I understand like how to sew pieces together, I understand bottom up, but so I don't know, it's a very like advanced pattern, and it doesn't really like give you step-by-step instructions of what you're supposed to do like a beginning sweater pattern would, or just like some other sweater patterns out there. There's just a lot of like, you've probably made sweaters before. You probably know that you need to do this when you are making your raglan increases, or you know that you need to like do this while this is happening and all that kind of stuff. So I would not recommend this pattern for beginning knitters or even intermediate knitters. This is definitely an advanced knitter pattern, but I'm really hoping that this turns out really well, because I really want to wear this sweater so badly because it's super cute. And again, it's a birthday knit along with my mom, and so I just really want it to turn out well because it is a special thing. So that is my tale of woe. Tale of knitting woe for this week. I have to frog a sweater that I have divided for the sleeves for, and there's mohair involved. And if you don't know why that is such a travesty, if you are not a knitter and you're confused why I am bemoaning the fact that there's mohair involved, because there's mohair involved, that means that the stitches will be more like stuck together. The fibers will have molded together, the little fibers will be like attached to each other, and so ripping everything out or unwinding the stitches will be a little bit more time consuming than it normally would have if there was no more hair involved. So fun times are ahead. I will let you know how that goes. Right now it's in timeout because I it was very funny. I told my mom that this was happening and we discussed it and we came up with a battle plan and what we were gonna do next, and so that was all like super wonderful. I was like, you know what, it's no big deal, I'll be fine because I knit this in like less than a week, so I'll be totally cool. It'll fly by. I wait a couple hours and like as time progresses I get more and more sad about it and I'm like, oh, I'm actually way more bummed about this than I thought I was. Oh no, this is not good. I can feel myself kind of like drifting into the knitter bummed moping situation. I don't know, that's not the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. I was very, very sad about this. And my husband was very sweet when he got home from work. I told him that I had to frog this sweater and he was very nice and very sad with me and was just like, I'm so sorry that you have to do this. This is such a bummer. Are you sure you don't do you have to? Are you sure this is what you need to do? So he was very nice. He understands that this is a travesty, and then he let me mope for a little bit, which was also very nice. Because knitters, you know, if you have to frog something, sometimes you need to have a little moping time to kind of like soothe your knitting soul because it's a very sad situation. I'm feeling much better about it now because during my moping I cast something new on, so that's exciting. I'm going to show that to you guys in a minute. But yeah, so that's Mom's popcorn bomber. That's a situation with that. Who knows, maybe next week I'll come back and like have the same amount of progress on a new needle and a new size and I'll just have ripped through the whole thing. Maybe it'll be done. I don't think it'll be done, but you never know. I have no idea. We'll see. I don't know when I'm gonna frog it. Hopefully, maybe I'll frog it today. I don't know. I could just bite the bullet and do it. I don't know. We'll see. So I cast something new on because I was very sad. And you know, sometimes you just need to soothe your soul, your knitting soul, and you're like, I am just very sad right now and so I need to cast on something new. So I did, and I felt much better afterwards. This is something that I have showed you guys a couple of times, but I've literally just showed you the ball of yarns, the bag, and kind of the pattern because I kept this. It's been waiting to be cast on. This was the project that my sister got for herself, my mom, and myself when she was in New York for a business trip a while ago. Not forever ago, but definitely not like in the past 2 weeks. So that was very exciting. We got the yarn all wound up and we all have our own bags. We have the pattern. Oh, she got the yarn and the bag obviously from Pearl Soho, which is in Soho in New York, which I have been to twice, I think. It's a super wonderful store. If you are ever in New York, definitely make that one of your stops because you will not be sorry. If you're a knitter or if you're into fabric or just crafting in general, you need to go for sure. Anyway, so the pattern is from the Pearl Soho website, which is also very exciting because it means that it is a free pattern, which is always nice. Mine is very crumpled and also somehow got ripped. But that's okay because, you know, it's a free pattern. And also it's a paper pattern, so I don't know why that makes it better. But anyway, so it's called the Floats Cowl. I think on Ravelry it says who it is actually designed. Oh, here it is. The project is designed for Pearl Soho by Jake Canton. So that's cool. This is on Ravelry, so you can go and check it out on Ravelry if you would like. It is super easy. It is knit with Pearl Soho's Season Alpaca, which is 100% baby alpaca. In other words, it is luxury yarn to the finest. So good. Or luxury yarn in my mind anyway. I don't knit with like super fancy yarns all the time, so 100% baby alpaca is, oh, it's so nice. That being said, I haven't knit with things like yak, and I don't usually knit with things with a very high content of silk. There's some things that have a little content of silk, but in regards to like luxury fibers, I don't knit with those very often. And that is not a choice of mine, it's just because they're usually more expensive, and so they're just few and far between, but I do enjoy them when I do get to knit with them. The pattern, the needle size calls for a size 4, but because I wanted something a little less dense, because this yarn, I don't know what the weight is exactly. I think it's probably like a DK. Light worsted, maybe. Anyway, so it calls for a size 4. I didn't want it so dense, so I'm knitting it on a size 7. But because this is a very adaptable pattern, you can do literally whatever you want. But that is just my decision that I made. It also calls you to cast on the enormous number of 324 stitches, which I also did not do. I cast on 224 stitches. Actually, I think I messed it up. No, I think I got it right. I just messed up the knit 2, purl 2. But I fixed it. See, things that nobody tells people when they're knitters because they're embarrassing facts. But when you have a podcast, it all just kind of comes out because, or for me anyway, because I just start rambling. Anyway, back to the pattern. Reading the pattern to see if there's anything interesting that you guys would be interested in. So there are several very nice and easy things about this. One, it's a very mindless knit. That's literally 2 rounds of a pattern that are very easy to do. It involves slip stitches. I was able to do both rows while reading, which is, if that tells you how easy this pattern is, it's very simple. So if you are into very easy things, if you know how to knit and purl and knit in the round, this is the project for you. And then you also get to learn how to do slip stitches and how that works and all that kind of fun stuff. And then it looks super cool because who doesn't love a good float behind slip stitches? If you don't know what a float is, I'm about to show you. So this is also where I'm going to put. So this is the color that the 3 of us have, and I know it's very hard to see. It looks very white, light gray-y on the camera, but it's actually the lightest of lightest purple, or like a lilac color. It is gorgeous, is what I'm trying to say. So it's very like gray purple. That's it's definitely more purple than what I can see on the camera or on the viewfinder. So I am super excited. As someone, I think I mentioned this last week, I love purple. Purple's one of my favorite colors, and so I am super excited to have a baby alpaca, of all things, purple cowl that I can wear. Oh my goodness. It also just smells so good. Oh, it smells so good. Oh. We've been over this. Don't judge knitters for smelling the yarn. They enjoy smelling yarn. It just smells so good. Anyway, that's not relevant. So let's show you what I'm actually working on instead of just the yarn. It is all tangled up. Tangled up. Okay. One thing, oh dang it, it's still tangled up. Okay, one thing I will say, if you are a beginning knitter and are looking for, let's see, is this twisted? No, this is not twisted. If you have never knit in the round before, there is an issue of trying to figure out if your stitches have been twisted. And it's always a sad thing when you figure out that your stitches are twisted and you've knit a lot, or you have a lot of stitches, or whatever. Okay, what was I going to say? Okay, yes. So because the nature of baby alpaca, or just any kind of slippery fiber in general, or yarn in general, if you are a beginning knitter, and you're making this cowl, or if you're knitting with any kind of slippery fiber, I'm just repeating myself now, apologies. But if you're a beginning knitter, I would recommend knitting any kind of soft, this thing keeps sticking to this and I don't know why. Any kind of soft fiber, knit with wood needles, excuse me. The wood will help like grip the yarn, and so it will help the stitches not be so slippery when you're like knitting. It will help the stitches not fall off the needles when it's in your bag, which is also like a huge worry all the time. So I say that mine are on metal needles, but that is because there is the plus of knitting with metal needles, and I personally think it goes much faster. And I am doing that just because I have had a fair amount of experience with slippery yarn and metal needles. So if you're a beginning knitter, I would recommend wood, but I just chose to do metal because that is what I prefer to do. So here are the little floats. You can see them on that side, which is super fun. It's literally 2x2 ribbing, and then on one of the rows you do knit 2, slip 2 with the yarn in the back. And I can say that because it's a free pattern, so don't come at me. So that's the one side, and then here is the other side, which also looks great. And I realize that's kind of hard to see, but there's the other side. So that is the nice thing about this cowl, or one of the many nice things about this cowl. It's reversible. It looks good on both sides. It's a win-win! Yay! So here's what I have so far. Not much, but I do have some. I have about maybe 8 rows. So, and yes, I did the unthinkable. I was a bad knitter. I did not pull out enough yarn for my cast on of 224 stitches. So again, don't judge me. And I tied a little knot. I know you're not supposed to do that. Don't do that, people. Don't follow my example. This is not a good thing to do. But I was in a bad knitting place. I was very sad about my sweater. I wasn't about to like, I think I was maybe like 15 stitches short of the 224 that I was gonna do, and I wasn't gonna rip the whole thing out and redo it. I should have, I could have, but I didn't because I wanted to knit something that I knew would make me happy, and so I had the other skeins that were available, so I just tied a little knot and kept on going. Again, that is not something that you should do generally, but I did, so yes. Don't follow my example in regards to that. That's not a good thing to do. But the ends are long enough, I can just weave it in, it'll be fine. And I don't really care, so I think it'll be fine. No worries. Anyway, I'm really enjoying knitting this so far, the 8 rows that I have knit. Like I said, I was able to read while knitting this last night, which was really wonderful, because again, I was in a bad knitting place, and so it was just like soothing myself. It's all good. So I really like this length of 224 stitches. I think it is, it's long, but it's not too long for my personal tastes or preferences or whatever. The 324 I think is super long, so if you want to be able to wrap it twice, that's wonderful. That is super cool. If that's what you were looking for, good choice for you. But because that was not like a, ooh, I want to wrap it twice. That was not something that was like, I have to do that. I cast on 100 less stitches, which is very easy to adjust the stitch count, again, because it is a very adaptable pattern, because you go in increments of 4 stitches, I should say. So that makes it super easy to adjust the size of it. So you could do more than 224. I only did 224 because it was 324 and I knew that 100 would be easy to figure out how to take out. Because again, bad knitting place, didn't want to do math. Yes, so now you understand. I think because also I had cast on 100 less stitches, that will enable me for it to knit it more a tall length, because I still have 3 skeins of it, and because I have chopped off 100 of those stitches, I will be able to make it thicker, wider, longer. I don't know. I can never remember the proper terms to describe that, but in order to make this part thicker, I can do that because it's not as long. So these are on, again, these are size 7s, 32 inch. It's great. I love it so much, and it smells good, and I think this will be something that I can just put on and be like, oh, this is a comfort cowl. Which reminds me, here we're gonna have a little story time. While I put this away. So the first time that my family and I went to New York, I don't remember what exactly we were doing, because my cousin has got married in New York several years ago, a long time ago actually, and we were there for that, but we've also been in New York for another reason. I don't remember why. Anyway, well, have we been there once or twice? We've been there twice. Anyway, I don't know. One of the times that we've been to New York, my mom and I made a point of visiting as many yarn stores as we could, which was like normal, of course. And at the time, that was very early on in our knitting career together, which is, I apologize for the crinkling paper. I'm going to put this away, and then I will be less distracted. So, I don't remember the name of this yarn store, and I doubt it is still in business just because it was so long ago, and it was a very small one. But I would hope it's still in business. I apologize, I don't remember the name of it. The lady who owned it was very nice. We walked in, it was in like an apartment building, and it was up on a very high floor, and so we got to experience the whole New York apartment situation and all that kind of fun stuff. It was definitely like, whoa, this is different from living in Texas or living in Oklahoma. This is very strange. So that was cool. I don't remember what my mom got, but I got yarn. I remember this very specifically because I still have this item and it is one of my favorites. I got yarn for a luxury yarn, a cashmere cowl that was 2 colors. It was like a baby pink and then like it was a dark brown, but because there was like extra fuzzies in it, it wasn't like deep brown. It was kind of muted dark brown. I guess that describes it pretty well. And so the lady was like, you could make a cowl with this, you could stripe it, that would be super cool. And so that's what I did. And I don't think that was my first in the round project, but it was definitely like one of my first in the round projects. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know about changing color, so there's like a holes where the color changes. There's a pink, I got 2 pink skeins and then 1 brown skein. So I had like a little pink section, a brown section, and a pink section again. And because it was like a luxury yarn and because it was like super cashmere-y, it smelled amazing. It was so good. And so I knit it, and it was super quick because it was on like size 10.5, and it was wonderful, and I loved it. And it like slowly turned into a cowl that like I wore as a comfort item of knitting. Does that make sense? Do you have a comfort item of knitting? It's just something that like you've knit that you know that you love, and it just makes you feel so good, and it just makes you feel like snuggly and comforted. This cowl was that for me, and so I still have it and I still wear it all the time. I think there have been a couple holes that have been created, but I've just fixed those right up because if something happens to this cowl, I will be very upset. But I wore this cowl to things like finals. I wore this cowl to things that I was like afraid of going to and it happened to be cold or whatever. I don't know. Or like on flights, stuff like that. Things where things could potentially be uncomfortable, but I would have the comfort of this cowl that was incredibly soft and smelled good and had good memories with it, and it was just so nice. I loved it so much. So I think that the one that I'm making now, the floats cowl, because it has that like that feeling to it. It's just so soft and it smells so good. And granted, like, I didn't get it there, my sister brought it, so that's cool. That's fun memories with that, and we can have those memories of having the same cowl together. But I think this potentially might be a new comfort cowl, if that makes sense. I don't know. I might have just rambled for a little bit, but you learned a little bit about me. Do you have any knits that are like super, super comfortable for you, and like knits that you will never ever get rid of even though they are not your best? Because this is definitely not my best knit, because the the ends are not very well woven in. There's a lot of like gaps and stuff because I was a new knitter. My gauge wasn't super great. My stitches are kind of uneven. I didn't block it. But I still love it. It's one of my favorite things, and I wear it all the time. Not now because it's hot, but in the winter I wear it all the time. So let me know if you have a comfort knit, because I would love to hear about that, because I think that's just super special. It really kind of like tells you a little bit more about whoever that person is, and I think that's cool. So let me know if you have a comfort knit. That was very random, and I did not plan about talking about that. And I did not plan to talk about that. That was very unplanned, but I just randomly thought of it, so why not share? So thirdly and lastly, but not of all leastly, because I say that apparently, and I always think it's funny, but it's not really that funny. Anyway, so there was a project that I told you guys about, and here comes the cat. Hi! Have you joined the podcast? He likes hanging out in our closet, so I think that's where he's going to, because the closet is in the bathroom that's in there. Anyway, there's a project that I have that is like completely mindless knitting. There is like no more pattern to it that I have to do. It is literally knitting however many inches I have left of in the round stockinette. Sounds incredible. Just right up my alley. Oh, hi. Hi, have you come to join us? Hello. He's like, why are you talking to me like this? You want to come say hello? Oh no, he's walking away. Come here. Oh, bye-bye. Anyway, so yes, this is very mindless knitting. Tomorrow, or today when you're going to be watching this, or on Saturday, my husband and I are going with his uncle and his fiance to go see the new Avengers movie. The new Avengers movie. The one with all of them, I think. The one that came out most recently. I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to that type of thing, so I apologize if I just said the wrong thing, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. The most recent, like, Avengers Marvel movie. And so that is good for endless amounts of in the round stockinette, which means that I can also work on this project that I haven't worked on in a while, which means I can make progress into getting it done, because this was another knit along that my mom and I were going to do, or did, and she finished hers a long time ago. She finished hers like back in December, maybe November, forever ago. This is my Branches and Bud. Oh, it smells good. This is my Branches and Buds pullover by Carrie Bostic Hodge. I'm not sure which one it is. Clearly I have done all the hard work and done the yoke, and so now I just have the endless amounts of the body, which is, again, right up my alley. I just love that so much. There's something about just right now, I am really in the need of a lot of mindless stuff. It just speaks to me right now. So yes, I will be working on this in the movie theater, just because I don't have to do anything. I can just knit and knit and knit and knit and knit, and I usually get a ton done in movie theaters, so it's a good thing. It's a very good thing. Plus, I think, like, yes, this is definitely a wool sweater, but I feel like I could also potentially get away with wearing this with like a very light tank top underneath it in the spring, which I know we're getting close to being the end of spring, but maybe like if I was in air conditioning, I feel like I could get away with that. It wouldn't be too hot, but it also might be too hot. We'll see. But I love this so much. I am super excited to get this done because every time I look at it, I'm always like, this is my thing. Why have I not continued to work on it? Why have I not finished it? This is the type of thing that I would love. Also, oh my goodness. Would this not be cute with overalls? This is another thing I'm very recently obsessed with, is overalls. They are literally the most comfortable thing in the entire world. I don't know how not everybody wears them. I understand that they're not everybody's cup of tea, but I personally love them. They are so comfortable. And then you can put pins on them and they're super cute. I'm wearing shorts, the ones that have shorts on them now. I have another pair that's a long pair in the winter. Oh my goodness, this would be so cute. I've seen people like Andrea Mowry wear her, what was the pullover that she made that was faded? I forget what it was called, but I saw an interview with her, and I think Chrissy Glass Knits, Chrissy was interviewing Andrea. And Andrea had her overalls on, and she had her knitted pullover on underneath, and oh my goodness, it was so cute! So cute! So yes, maybe that should become more of a thing for me now, because I have discovered the world of overalls, and I just love them so much. They have changed my life. So yes, to go back to the topic at hand, apologies, that was a tangent. This yarn is Drops Flora, I believe. Let's find out. Yes, Drops Flora. I have it in this gray, and then I also have it in this pinky color, which, can we just even, I am so, like, I love these colors together. It's just so beautiful. The gray is a little blown out, but it's a lot more, like, actually gray. So that's very exciting. I don't think I actually used too much. I think I only had one ball of this. So that's pretty cool. If you were looking for a pullover, a colorwork pullover that does not require too many colors and you only need one ball of the contrasting color, this might be a good pullover for you. Movie theater knitting tomorrow or today when you're watching this, on Saturday. I'm looking forward to this. I actually am. This is kind of like, I made this plan to knit this during the movie, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, so I think that's a good sign that I'm really excited about it. So, fun times. I don't actually have anything else to talk to you guys about. I did a little baking, but it wasn't like outstanding. I haven't done very much reading. I have had the busiest week this past week. It's been super fun. I took my brother-in-law's senior pictures and edited all those pictures, which is super fun. I have not done that type of a thing before, but I had a blast. It was so much fun, and I think the pictures turned out really, really great. So that's cool. It's just been a busy week. It's that busy time of year where there's lots of stuff going on, events, graduation, families in town, all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun time, but also a busy time. But hopefully I will be able to continue to get a lot of knitting done and hopefully frog that sweater that I need to frog. So sad. But oh well. It needs to be done. I know I'll feel better once I do it, so I should probably do that soon. Isn't that right, Birdie? I should probably do that soon. Birdie, you want to do it for me? You could do it for me. That would be nice. I don't think he really wants to. So yes, this has been a very, like, knit heavy episode, but I'm glad this was a knit heavy episode because it's been a while since we've had something that was just knitting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, if you were a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and spending some time with me. It really means a lot. And if you were a new viewer, thank you so much for checking me out. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and of course there are lots of previous episodes that you can go and watch if you'd like to. Also, like I said at the beginning of the episode, all the things that I talked about will be linked in the show notes down below if you're on my blog, or they will be linked down below if you are on YouTube. In addition to that, all my various social medias will be down there and linked everywhere else. There's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Ravelry. I am most active on Instagram for sure, so if you'd like to follow me on there, that would be wonderful. I hope you've had a wonderful week, and I hope you continue to have a wonderful weekend. If you have crafty plans, I hope they are successful. I hope you didn't find out that you have to frog an entire sweater this week, because that's a very sad place to be in. But if that was you, I hope that you found some way to soothe your knitting soul with a new cast on, or a book, or tea, or a cat, or whatever. Because it needs to be done. It's sad. Anyway, I hope that you have, like I said, fun crafty plans. What am I saying now? Hopefully I will get a lot done on my Branches and Buds pullover tomorrow during the movie, which is very exciting. Who knows? Maybe I'll just rip through the whole thing and get the whole body done tomorrow. I don't think that'll happen, but you never know. I need to measure to make sure and check the pattern to see how much more I actually do need. So I can try and shoot for that. You never know. Anyway, hopefully I'll come back to you next week with like inches upon inches of progress, and that would be really amazing. But you never know. Who knows? I don't think there's anything else that I need to say on the regular things that I say at the end of the podcast. Birdie, you want to come say goodbye? He looked at me, but I don't think he's at. Oh, he's getting up. Oh no, he's walking in the opposite direction. Okay then, be that way. On that note, I guess I'll see you guys next week. Bye!